Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ad Army, and today, as you can tell, we are checking out the Purple Dragons from EX7, and it's going to be the focus of this What's the Scoop today. But before, as always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It does help down below and keeps the content growing, but more importantly, gets you more information like this. And obviously, since we're talking about EX7 is going to drop on I always keep saying November for some reason, on September 20th, which will be in 7 days of this recording, which is pretty impressive. So I wanted to give out some more information to speed up some of the What's the Scoop so that you guys, if you are breaking into this new set without really looking at the cards, that you know what's in here and what to do. But as always, remember to accelerate the sub count because it does help us out. And I promise you, I'm done with shilling right now. So let's talk about this, as obviously for What's the Scoop, you get a first look and so do I. So let's take a look at what Purple Dragons are doing in specifically EX7, as this is a very interesting lineup of Digimon because this is technically a not new strategy in the sense that the playstyle actually has already existed in the form of a few cards that we'll talk about before, and is actually a part of a very powerful engine, but we actually have a strategy designed around it finally. So this is kind of the culmination of these cards before, which actually stretch back, I think, all the way from BT6, I think, Double Diamond, with the introduction of or maybe it's BT7 with the introduction of Eismon, but we are going to be looking at a new support focused around the Dark and Evil Dragon type, as well as the Evil type, which is focusing around the Rookie and Impmon. As we actually have 9 new cards for you, and we're going to jump straight to it by looking at the brand new Yammon here. We have a brand new Yammon to support the strategy, and it reads, when attacking once per turn, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, this Digimon may digivolve into a Digimon card with the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait in the trash. Continuing on with a brand new level 3, this is actually a returning Digimon in the form of Impmon, as Impmon is in its first iteration as a dual color, purple and red, which reads as follows. It can digivolve on top of Yammon for a cost of 0, and then your turn, when this Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon card with the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait, you can reduce the Digi-Evolution cost by 1, and for its inheritable, this Digimon during your turn gets 2000 DP. Next, we transition into the level 4s, as this will have dual level 4 and level 5s all the way up until the brand new level 6s. So starting off, we have a brand new Eismon Scatter mode here, which on play, you get to trash 1 card in your hand, and then you may return 1 Digimon card with the Evil Dragon or Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon or specifically Evil trait from your trash to the hand. And then additionally, for its inheritable, you gain Retaliation, so that's really solid there. Moving into the brand new level 4 Digimon here, this is Punkmon. So Punkmon is a dual color purple and red Digimon, which reads as follows. It can digivolve on top of any level 3 with the evil trait for a cost of 2. And then when digivolving, if you have 1 or fewer tamers, you may play 1 Yuki from your hand without paying the cost. And then for its inheritable, you get to have 2000 DP on your turn, so very good. Moving into the brand new level 5s, we have a brand new Orochimon here, and it reads as follows. So it carries blocker, and then on deletion, you get to trash 1 card in your hand, then delete 1 of your opponent's level 3 Digimon and 1 of their level 4 Digimon. So pretty good. And then additionally, for its inheritable, you get to have Retaliation. See a theme in here? Moving into the brand new level 5 Digimon, we actually have Loudmon here. So Loudmon is a very interesting, as it's a dual color purple and red, which reads as it can digivolve on top of any level 4 with with Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait for a cost of 3, and then on play or when digivolving, you get to trash 2 cards in your hand, then you get to delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon with 7000 DP or less. This card is always treated as having the Dark Dragon type, so very, very unique here. For its inheritable, your turn, while you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, all of your Digimon with the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait gain security attack +1. So very strong. Moving into the brand new level 6, although this is already an existing Digimon card, we have a brand new Nidhoggmon, which actually has a very interestingly a trash main effect. If you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, you get to play this card from your trash with the play cost reduced by 7, or by 4, 7. Additionally, it carries blocker, and then on deletion, you may play 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card with the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait from your trash without paying the cost. Finally, for our new Digimon, we have a new Digimon in Heavy Metalgermon. So really cool here, which reads that it can Digivolve on top of any level 5 with the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait for a cost of 4, and then when Digivolving, you get to trash 2 cards in your hand, then get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. At the end of your turn, once per turn, you may play 1 card with the Evil Dragon or Dark Dragon or Evil trait, and a play cost of 8 or less from your trash without paying the cost. For each card in your hand, you remove 1 from this effect play cost maximum. Finally, we have our brand new tamer to support the strategy, as we have Yuki here. So at the start of your main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon, you gain 1 memory. Then main, if you have 4 or fewer cards in your hand, by suspending this tamer, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with the Dark Dragon or Evil Dragon trait in the trash, and then additionally for security, you simply play it. So that is all of the brand new 9 cards, but you're probably wondering, what does this new purple, dark, evil, all this type of situation for the dragons, what does this mean and what are you supposed to do with it? So when we're looking at the strategy, one thing I find very interesting is that it is not necessarily completely designed to be built out of this set, although a lot of these side sets maybe have a lot of the cards for it. The reason I say it's not fully designed is that when you look at the cards, they're missing a few key pieces. There's obviously not enough level 3s here. You have some hard play effects, which is pretty cool, but there's just something missing. But when we look at Yamon, it's pretty clear about exactly what we're trying to do with the strategy. It's very reminiscent to something like, I almost want to dare say something like Lucamon, but it's a little bit different, because when you look at the specific condition mechanic, it's about having 4 or fewer cards in your hand, which means you have to be finding a way to cycle a lot. So very much like Purple likes to do, you do like to cycle through a lot of cards, trigger a lot of effects by sending them to the trash. But in this case, what you're doing is you're specifically trying to keep a minimum in your hand so that you're able to take advantage of it later on. So you fill your trash with your effects, but then simultaneously allow yourself to get to that minimum limit and do it by allowing your Digimon to have their additional effects. I really like the new Intmon here because it just makes a lot of sense. It can reduce the Evil Dragons and Dark Dragons costs. So for something like the already existing Eismon cards, you're now able to kind of utilize them in this deck a bit easier, because now there are going to be 1 cost Evos on top of Intmon, which is just really cool. I also like the fact that since the new scatter mode is also obviously an Eismon scatter mode, you're now able to kind of use it with Eismon from BT7, so you can kind of, use that effect where you could just play them out. So it is pretty interesting, although it is at 1, I think, still. This would make the scatter mode really useful, and this is actually a good effect. It's not too hard of a play cost, because being 4 is pretty solid. And also it being able to return a Digimon, I think, is really cool, because it almost has that... why is my mind messing with it, the name of the card, but Calling from the Darkness. It kind of has that effect where it just lets you loop back some cards, so that's really cool. Retaliation is always a good ability, I think, on Digimon, because even if it's inheritable, it just means that you can't like run over the body. Punkmon and the associated Loudmon types, or the brand new Digimon, I'll say, from Liberator. The coolest thing I think about them is that they are, obviously their designs are neat, but they actually show exactly what you want to do. For Punkmon, obviously the point is you want to be able to play out your Yuki, because you really want to cycle out cards from your hand. So you want to get it out as quickly as possible. So playing Yuki for free is like really smart here. Additionally, just having a big buffs on your Digimon is fine, because it's a red Digimon, so that's cool. The brand new Orochimon and the brand new Nidhoggmon are really cool, I think, because what the strategy I think is trying to do is that it gives you benefits from your trash that you would get normally from like cards from your hand, but in reverse, what it wants you to do is kind of like you lose resources, but you're also gaining stuff by destroying your opponent's board, which is like why Orochimon does a lot on its deletion. So you trash a card in your hand, then you delete one of your opponent's level 3 and one of their level 4s. That's decidingly being able to do board clearing, or it's like board control, as well as like thinning out your hand. So that's like really solid. Nidhoggmon 2 I think has a really cool effect, because effectively what it's saying is that if you have the 4 or fewer cards, what you can do is, if you're in a bad position, you can play this from your trash for a play cost of 7, as I mentioned. And this card does have blocker, and it basically is able to replay out your Digimon from your trash, which is just pretty strong. But the reason I really like this for Nidhoggmon is it's basically the first time you could say, as long as it's in the trash, you have a blocker. And I think that's fantastic. And in this deck, yes, you obviously need to get to the minimum of 4. But the point is, Nidhoggmon is live, so as long as you have 4 or less in your hand, and then you have it in the grave or the trash. So it's really fantastic here. Also, it's meant to kind of combo off with something like Loudmon, where you play it back from Nidhoggmon's effect, so that you can go ahead and kind of delete your opponent's board more and set up for the Heavy Metal play that we're talking about in a second. Because when Heavy Metal comes out on top of Loudmon, I think the whole point here is that you're trying to go for a really big game winner here. You're really trying to end the game, because its effect to let you trash 2 and then you delete one of your opponent's Digimon. And the DP thing matters, obviously, because it's less or as much DP as this Digimon, so it's going to be pretty big. So if you do it on your turn, it's like 15 at least from one of the champion or from Pokemon's effect. So your bare minimum is 13, but your maximum is like 15, so that's really high. But additionally here, when we're looking at what this deck is trying to do, it wants you to thin your hand. It wants you to do a lot of these interesting things. Heavy Metal is fantastic because it basically says, hey, you get to play one of your evil or dark dragons. No, its effect is a little strange, because when I read this originally, what I thought it meant was you get to play cost of 8 or less. However, it says when you reduce that for each card in your hand, you remove 1 from the effect maximum. So as you have, like, say you already have the 4 condition, you trash 2. What happens now is that you have 2 cards in your hand, so this was only playing a play cost of 6 or less. So although I like that effect, I think the problem with this was I don't really understand why the reduction is so bad in that aspect, because you usually want to have at least a card in your hand or 2 cards in your hand, not for this deck, but just in general in the game, because you really don't want to have no hand. So I think this effect is cool, but I really think to fixing it, they really probably could have said for every like 2 cards in your hand, you reduce it by 1, because I think at the point of its effect, when you trash 2 and you end up probably with 2 cards in your hand based off of its effect, what this would do is if you draw a card for evolution and you end up trashing 2, if your hand had 4, it'd have 3. So then with that minimum, you'd only be reducing it by 1. So any play cost 7 or less would be what you would be able to play instead of it being like 6 or less. I think it's just important because you're basically only summoning or playing like level 4s here and lower, because sometimes your level 5s are just going to be a little bit too high. Like Orochimon is a play cost 6, so I think that was maybe the design idea, so you get a blocker back, but that is pretty unique, I guess. It's not bad. Additionally, Yuki is a solid tamer. I mean, she's basically able to just net you a memory, so those tamers I think are always good because they stack really easy. But more importantly, its ability by basically just allowing you to use an additional form of the Yammon effect is just, I think, underrated. I think people just probably don't understand how good that is right now, because of what it basically means is that your deck is now going to be able to Digivolve from the trash effectively twice. So I think that's really cool here. And Yuki's obviously a waifu, so people playing this deck are just going to be like, yay. The cool thing about this deck, I think, that if you're wanting to get information, like I said before, by reading the Liberator's novel, you can kind of see how you're supposed to play this strategy. I think that's a really cool an addition that they made for the Liberator stuff. So if you want to learn how to play this deck, because I have seen people kind of tinker with it, but it's still probably like in its building phase, go ahead and give it a shot, but also check it out on the Liberator novel. See how like the players or the characters actually play their deck. So see how Yuki plays her version of the deck, and then you'll kind of understand, if you're a newer player or someone who's just trying to figure out what the heck this deck's supposed to do, kind of what matchups it's good in. But yeah, pretty much that's all I've got for you guys today. This has been What's the Scoop with Purple Dragons, and as always, this has been Brad from the Ad Army signing off. And for all of you out there, to sign on.